Hello and welcome to a new Scale 500 news video where I truly can bring you some burning hot breaking news. A little while ago, I was able to break the news that either model would enter the Scale 500 market with their really awesome first release batch containing 3 Dreamliners, the North Atlantic, the Korean Air and the EVA Air Dreamliners respectively. But today I can bring you the news of the second batch, and after much back and forth, they have now finally decided on what models will be included in the second batch. After taking a lot of feedback from collectors, from the community, this is what they are coming up with for the second batch, which, and this is the first good news, will be released already this year, so 2025. So now with no further ado, let's jump right into it and see what the second batch will have in store for us. And what I can also already say is it's not just for 2025, but it is to be expected around October, November of this year. That is the current time frame for either model. And another bit of good news here is that we actually start this batch off with a new mold for either model. They are now also offering models with the A330 mold, and the very first of these models is featuring the Finnair livery. And there are a lot of really exciting details on all of these aircraft models, but specifically around the A330-300 of either model, there is at least one printed detail that we haven't seen so far featured in Scale 500 on this aircraft type. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, let's just walk through the model from the beginning. Of course, apart from featuring the stunning Finnair livery, we do get a lot of printed details across this aircraft model, and in fact either model is further developing their products, which means these models in this second batch will already have more standard details as we have seen with the first batch of models coming from either model. So really amazing work here. Now, of course, apart from a bunch of markings, sensors, static boards, all that lovely stuff, we do also specifically focus here on the cockpit section, where we, as a standard detail with all either models from now on, will have peto tubes. Really nice. And also notice the circular marking around the radome. That is not just in this graphic, this will also be a printed detail on the finished product. So this could well and truly be a great addition to everyone's wide-body fleets, but there's more A330-300 goodness to come in form of the Brussels Airlines Airbus A330, of course, featuring the airline's new standard livery. And of course, also on this Airbus A330, you will be finding petro tubes, and you will of course also be finding the circular marking indicating the radome. Really cool stuff. But there's more detailing to notice here. For example, also the quite intricate detailing in the cabin doors. That's something we also had on the Finnair. Again, standards that we just get with either model that are, well, I mean, look, it is just what it is. Levels beyond what Harper is giving us nowadays. Of course, and we should not forget that with all the excitement of these new announcements, these are just graphics, and we haven't yet seen images of the final products. That even includes the first batch, but I am very confident that either model will be able to deliver on what they are promising us here, and if they do so, well, we are in for a treat. But yet, it is of course still always prudent to remain vigilant and to wait and see what the final products are before we make any buying decisions. But let's see what else either model has in store for us in this release batch. Because here we get another Dreamliner from either model, the 787-9, in the standard ANA livery. And I think this is really interesting because this aircraft type and livery has been featured in the past from JC Wings, which to date is still what I consider to be the best Scale 500 aircraft model ever to be sold. So it will be very interesting to see how either model is doing with this aircraft model compared to what we had in the past. In any case, this will be great for many collectors who missed out on the JC Wings ANA 787-9 and give them the opportunity to get this aircraft model at a fair price, because the JC Wings ANA has of course ever since release increased tenfold in its value and made it pretty much impossible for most collectors to get their hands on it. But also here, either model is not standing still. The level of detailing that we will have on the first 3 Dreamliners from the first batch will be matched by this aircraft model, but there will actually be more detailing. For example, the Dreamliners going onwards from batch 2 of either model will also have, for example, petro tubes. So also here, more development coming from either model. And the same level of detailing we can also expect on the next Dreamliner in this batch. But of course, it features a different livery. And that is the standard livery of Japan Airlines. Also here, very exciting news, given that the Japan Airlines Dreamliner 7879 has never been featured in Scale 500 before. So this is truly a premiere for Scale 500 collectors. I'm very excited about this aircraft model. Yes, the Japan Airlines livery is maybe not the most spectacular, but just the fact that this is such a main carrier that just hasn't been featured before in Scale 500 with this specific aircraft type, of course, and now we will finally be able to get our hands on it. That for me is excitement enough, apart from the awesome amount of detailing we will find on this aircraft model. Now, the 5th and final aircraft model in this batch will also be a Dreamliner, a 787-9, but where the Japan Airlines livery is fairly bare-boned and straightforward, that cannot be said about this next model here, because that is featuring a very special livery. I am of course talking about the Qantas Jam Dreaming 787-9, and the fact alone that either model is trying to make this aircraft model with this livery in their second batch only is really astonishing, and proves that they really have the guts to go up and play with the big boys here, because this is a very complicated livery. This will also impact the price. I will talk a bit more about that later in the video. But it is a very complicated livery, and therefore of course it does take a lot of effort to actually make this aircraft model. But again, as I say, they are doing this in their second batch only, which is really rather impressive. And I mean, and this just shows for me the level of passion and attention to detail that the people from either model have, because when I talked with them about this livery, they came to me and said, oh, you know, we are actually a little bit concerned how people will react to this, because at the cabin doors there are some red markings, and this is also on the back door, but these red markings, I mean, they will be printed, but they will probably kind of disappear in this livery. And they were really nervous about how collectors would react to it. My response was, of course, I think people will understand if something like this would disappear in this kind of livery, so I wouldn't be worried about it. But it just again shows how much they are really thinking about these things, and they don't want to skip out on details on collectors here when they make these models. They really do want to give it their best shot. Now, this is going to be a limited edition. All other models might be re-released at some point in the future. This model is a one-off because it is such a complicated livery to recreate, so I don't think they have the nerves to make it many more times. So if you really want to have the model, I would not wait too long. Once it has hit the shelves, once we have seen the first images of the finished products, if that is to your liking, yeah, then I would not wait too long to order it. So those are the models that either model will be releasing in their second batch for this year. I mean, I think it is really awesome that we now see another aircraft type featured by either model. There has, of course, been a lot of talk in the community about what molds either model might have or might not have. We could, of course, already here on the channel reveal that, yes, either model is starting off with former Sky 500 molds, but trying to modify them and, of course, then developing new molds. But not all Sky 500 molds were in workable conditions, so there has been some talk about, oh, they must have all of them. That's just not the case. But we can now see the second mold in use from either model, and I think that is really exciting. And also the improvements they're making with these models, the amount of details they're adding to these models, new details that we haven't seen featured on Scale 500 models before, really awesome. Now, in terms of the pricing, either model does have recommended retail prices. Whether retailers actually follow those or not, that's not within their control. We have seen some model stores that do it, some that don't. Pricing level for this batch, that I can reveal, will be pretty much the same as with the last batch, at least the recommended retail price coming from either model. Again, whether shops will follow that, that's out of their control. The only model that cannot follow quite the same pricing level as we've seen with the previous models, that is the Jam Dreaming Qantas model, simply because this is such an intricate livery, so complex, so production costs are just higher with this model. So at least for that model, expect a little bit higher prices, but the other ones should hopefully stay around the same pricing level we see with the first release batch from either model. But now, what are your thoughts about this second batch from either model? What models interest you? What other models would you like to see in the future? Do leave your feedback down below, because I know that either model is watching these videos and does take in the feedback from the community. So all your thoughts in the comment section below. And of course, if you like this type of content, be sure to leave a like. And if you are new around here, why not hit subscribe? With that, thanks so much for watching today's news video here on the channel. I'm checking out, and bye.